Sarah Palin is following up her critically acclaimed appearance alongside John McCain today in Arizona with another Southwest trip. She's going to be going to Nevada to a great big Tea Party protest that's being billed as the conservative Woodstock. It's in Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid's hometown of Searchlight, Nevada. Joe the Plumber also expected to make an appearance at the conservative Woodstock. Could turn out to be an awkward reunion since Mr. the Plumber recently declared that John McCain screwed up his life, that John McCain was trying to use him on the campaign trail, and that, quote, I don't owe him bleep. Have fun in Searchlight with Governor Palin, Mr. Plumber. Ooh, to be a fly on the wall. The Conservative Roadshow going to Nevada may be very energizing to Tea Party conservatives and activists in that part of the country. But if Republican elected officials are hoping to capitalize on that energy, it turns out, and I think this is important to note in the coverage here, that elected Republican officials in the state of Nevada are not in a great position to capitalize on anything like that right now. Nevada's other senator, for example, who is not Harry Reid, is Republican John Ensign. He's in the middle of a sex and lobbying scandal. He's being investigated by both the Senate Ethics Committee and the Justice Department. A raft of Las Vegas businesses have John Ensign to thank, for example, for federal subpoenas that they have recently been served. The other highest-ranking Republican in the state of Nevada is Governor Jim Gibbons. Now, if you are not a Nevadan and the name Jim Gibbons is familiar to you, it might be because of that time in 2006 when Mr. Gibbons was accused of assaulting a cocktail waitress in a parking lot. Or the time this year when, by way of defending himself against those charges, he volunteered in a legal deposition that he has not had sex with anyone in 15 years. The governor was not asked a question that led directly to that. He volunteered that information. Perhaps you're also thinking of the time that he made news for sending hundreds of text messages to not his wife from his state-owned cell phone. But if you're not from Nevada and you have heard the name Jim Gibbons, you've heard of Governor Jim Gibbons, I have to say that the most likely reason is that you have watched hundreds of times, like most of us here at the Rachel Maddow Show have, one of the most incredible local news videos I've ever seen. It's a video starring the governor and a local TV reporter named Jonathan Humbert. Governor Gibbons was returning from the National Governors Association meeting in Washington, and Mr. Humbert, the reporter, was waiting for him at the Reno airport, where the governor arrived with a companion who he bizarrely and repeatedly tried to insist was not there. I bet you've seen this, but if you haven't, here's an excerpt.
Did you go with anyone today?
Well, what's it to you? Yeah, I went with security.
And anyone else?
Well, what's it to you?
No one else came with you on this trip?
No one.
Kathy Koresh didn't accompany you on this trip? She did not?
No.
She's not in this airport right now?
No.
She was not on that flight?
No.
Despite what the governor says, our cameras caught Koresh heading into an airport bathroom. She came out but ran back inside after seeing our camera. When she came out, we asked her about the trip.
Did you attend this conference in any way with the governor?
I did not attend any conference in any way.
She walked toward an SUV with tinted windows, the governor's state-owned vehicle.
So you're saying that you did not attend the conference with the governor even though we saw you coming off the plane directly after him?
You know what? I could have been in Las Vegas having tea with the First Lady.
Then the governor walked out to the vehicle.
Governor, you told us just 10 minutes ago that Kathy Koresh was not on this flight. Do you want to change your statement?
Well, she was not with me in Washington, D.C. I can't control where she goes or what she does.
So you just happened to be in Washington, D.C. with her and happened to be leaving in the same car as her? Sir, we are literally less than 12 hours away from a special session that's going to decide almost $1 billion in cuts, and here you are with a woman who's not your wife.
You're full of shit. You are. You really are. All you're doing is out here late at night trying to make a scene.
Ta-da! That is what Nevada Governor Jim Gibbons is most famous for outside of Nevada. With the Tea Partiers converging on Searchlight, Nevada tomorrow, Governor Jim Gibbons is trying to get famous for something other than that video that you just saw. Governor Jim Gibbons has asked his state's attorney general to sue the federal government over health reform. His attorney general is a Democrat named Catherine Cortez Masto. She said she wants to look into the matter first, and she says she is conducting a thorough legal analysis. But Governor Gibbons is seemingly unperturbed by his attorney general's desire to do real legal analysis before filing a lawsuit. He's now demanding an answer from his attorney general by early next week. As we discussed on last night's show, these lawsuits are scams. They are political gamesmanship. They are not even designed to change policy. They are aimed at creating political effect. For example, as Igor Volsky from the Center for American Progress noted today, quote, "I'm no lawyer, but the fact that the suit doesn't contain any references to past Supreme Court decisions or legal precedent suggests that it's frivolous." How frivolous can it be, though, if you can make money off of it and rile up gullible people who don't realize that you are scamming them? Same goes for the repeal health reform effort. The Republicans have been pledging to fight to repeal health reform, even though they know that's not a practical or even feasible strategy. Here, for example, is what Republican Senator John Kyle of Arizona had to say about the repeal strategy this week.
Our view is that we should repeal and replace the bill with the solutions that we think actually work. Obviously, the president will not sign a repeal bill that the Congress passes, so that's more of a symbol.
More of a symbol. In other words, that thing we're promising to do, it's really more of a thing we can't do. Here's another dose of intellectual honesty on the repeal strategy, courtesy of former House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
What you have to do is be politically honest. If the Republicans win a majority in the House and Senate next year, they will not be able to repeal the bill. The president would veto it.
Ta-da! Republicans are essentially admitting the repeal strategy is a scam, which means if they're asking you for money in order to pursue their repeal strategy, if they're asking for your vote to aid them in their effort to repeal health reform, it's not because even they believe they actually can repeal health reform. They know they can't. It is just a strategy that is designed to separate fools from their money. Here's, though, what they didn't see coming. Before health reform passed, Republicans thought this was going to be a great issue for them. They thought this was what they wanted the 2010 election to be all about how against health reform they are. So they committed themselves to the anti-health reform platform. They got behind the overturn reform lawsuits. They started talking about repealing health reform. They said they'd be running on repealing health reform and how illegal health reform was all the way through November. But then health reform passed, and lo and behold, everything changed. Democrats won on this one. Republicans lost on this one. And now campaigning to repeal health reform means campaigning to reverse lots of sweeping pro-consumer reforms to the insurance industry, which is becoming a little bit of a political problem. For example, do you want to see the repeal health reform campaign strategy in action in all of its problematic glory? This is Republican Congressman Mark Kirk of Illinois. He's running for President Obama's old Senate seat. The Chicago Tribune recently obtained an audio tape of Congressman Kirk vowing to a local Republican audience to lead the effort to repeal health reform. That audio is appearing now in ads produced by Mr. Kirk's Democratic opponent.
As your senator, I would lead the effort, if it passes, to repeal this bill.
The ad kind of dares Congressman Kirk to say that in public, to really and truly campaign on repealing health reform. It points out that Congressman Kirk, in voting against health reform, in the first place voted against major insurance industry reform. In other words, really, Mark Kirk? You want to lead the effort to restore the insurance industry's right to deny coverage to kids who have pre-existing conditions? You want to lead the fight to demand that seniors have a donut hole in their prescription drug coverage so they can't afford their drugs? That's what you're going to campaign on? Unfortunately for the Republican Party, this is the strategy they have locked themselves into. But admit it. It did make you forget who was in Jim Gibbons' car for a second there, didn't it? Just for a second.